chapter 60, verses 1 through 6. And I'll be reading from the NRSV. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. For darkness shall cover the earth, and thick darkness the peoples. But the Lord will rise upon you, and his glory will appear over you. Nations shall come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your dawn. Lift up your eyes and look around. They all gather together. They come to you. Your sons shall come from far away, and your daughters shall be carried on their nurses' arms. Then you shall see and be radiant. Your heart shall thrill and rejoice, because the abundance of the sea shall be brought to you. The wealth of the nations shall come to you. A multitude of camels shall cover you. Of the young camels of Midian and Ephah, all those from Sheba shall come. They shall bring gold and frankincense, and shall proclaim the praise of the Lord. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Our carol is We Three Kings.
God takes the form of a baby because divine helplessness, divine helpless love and peace is greater than any other force in the multiverse. From the second chapter of Matthew in the Common English Bible. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in the territory of Judea during the rule of King Herod, Magi came from the east to Jerusalem. They asked King Herod, "Where is the newborn King of the Jews? We've seen his star in the east and we've come to honor him." In a spiritual sense, at least in my spirit, Christmas and Epiphany are not the beginning of our story. It's when stuff got real. When humanity first had an inkling, we don't exist merely in the temporal place or time. We exist in spiritual eternity. That's our reality. Of course, we're real now, but we're no more real now than we were beginning at the Big Bang of creation, if that's how you think of it. And we're no more real now than we will be for all the endless time of eternal consciousness. Do you know that there is by now a well-established line of scientific inquiry, a theory medical scientists place great faith in, that consciousness is not in our brains and doesn't cease when our brain waves stop? From a spiritual perspective, it's not true we won't know when we're dead. In fact, we won't be dead, even if our bodies are. And medical science, just within the last century or so, has evolved to begin to imagine and admit that. More expansively, science is now aware the multiverse has a consciousness that ours blends into. That, of course, is the spiritual understanding that creation is love and peace we're made of, and love and peace flowing through us. This may be an epiphany, but it's not the epiphany. In the dictionary, epiphany is an appearance or manifestation, especially of a divine being, in this case, baby Jesus in a manger. Epiphany is usually a sudden manifestation or perception of the essential nature or meaning of something. Do we really understand the essential nature and meaning of the baby in the manger is God is eternal love and peace. God is in heaven and on earth. God is us, each of us, and each of us is God eternally. It's both my personal experience and my observation that no one on the planet suddenly gets that. Within the lines or the box of our temporal awareness, we evolve into the understanding and experience of the narrative of Epiphany. Our temporal awareness is a box. It's an ever-expanding box that will eventually biodegrade to let the light, the illumination, the fullness of spiritual eternal consciousness in. For each of us, our experience, our understanding depends on the experience and the understanding of others. What can we learn from the experience and understanding of the Magi? Certainly not all we need to experience and understand, but it's a beginning. Who were the Magi? Were they kings? Were they wise men? We've heard a lot of characterizations. In fact, though, there is a good body of evidence Magi were members of the priestly class, pastors, prophets. In Hellenistic culture, they were regarded as rulers of a distinctive religion. But at the same time, their religious ideas were thought to be strongly influenced by philosophy. So much so that Greek philosophers have often been portrayed as their pupils. There is no doubt this view contains truth, since after all, the great Greek philosopher Aristotle himself spoke of the philosophical work of the Magi. Whether or not they were exactly members of the Persian priesthood, they were nevertheless custodians of religious and philosophical knowledge that had developed in that area and continued to be cultivated there. They apparently had material of a prophetic nature that they likely acquired from an Eastern Jewish community, such as the one in Babylon, that allowed them to identify the birth of the new King of the Jews astronomically. There are ample biblical references to the East, where the Magi came from, as being an area of northern Arabia, Syria, and Mesopotamia, perhaps as little as 400 miles from Bethlehem. Magi had a distinctive religion understood by philosophers to be strongly influenced by philosophy. If you'll allow me, I understand Magi were more spiritual than religious. And isn't spiritual experience the whole point of religion anyway? Why do we suppose the Magi first showed up on King Herod's doorstep? The Magi's motivation was the birth of the new King of the Jews, which the Magi learned of from the Jews. And the Magi naturally assumed the child would be a descendant of the reigning king. But you know what? The Magi wouldn't travel 400 miles or more in honor of a political leader of the Jewish religion, which wasn't even the religion of the Magi. That makes no sense. The Magi were especially motivated to come see this King of the Jews because at the time there was, in the temporal sense of expectation and in the spiritual sense, the eternal wisdom that a universal, a multiversal ruler would soon come from Israel. We know from Roman historians, including Josephus, that common speculation of the day was that the ruler of the world would emerge from Judah. We now know the idea of a human king or ruler was the best anyone at that time could process. A couple of thousand years later, our understanding is still evolving into the notion that the essential nature and meaning of the baby in the manger is God is eternal love and peace. God is in heaven and on earth. God is us, each of us, and each of us is God eternally. In a spiritual sense, it turns out Epiphany, like all of creation, is evolving. It's not a sudden understanding, but an eternal, evolving experience. Reality is experiences layered upon experiences and flowing and gelling into eternal love and peace. God took the form of a baby because divine, helpless love and peace is the design, intention, and direction of eternity, now and forever. Amen.
Thank you.